Imagine walking through streets in absolute silence, where only the wind dares to break the void. Buildings covered in dust, half-open doors creaking with the slightest breeze. Broken windows like empty eyes of a city that once had a soul. These aren't just abandoned cities. They are silent witnesses to something that went terribly wrong, very wrong, because behind every ghost town lies a buried truth, and many times that truth is far darker than any urban legend. The story begins with abandonment. But not all abandonment is natural. Sometimes it comes abruptly, like a clean cut. Imagine waking up one day to find your city condemned, that you have only a few hours to leave with whatever you can carry, that you'll never return. That's what happened in several corners of the world, and each of these places bears a different kind of scar. In a mountainous region of Eastern Europe, homes still hold children's toys in the corners, clothes on the clotheslines, and photos on the walls. But no more laughter, no hurried footsteps. The reason? A failed industrial experiment released a toxic cloud that turned the air into poison. Residents left without looking back. And those who dare return describe a feeling of being watched, even in broad daylight. One group of urban explorers reported interference with their electronic equipment, as if something invisible resisted human presence. It's not an isolated case. Elsewhere in the world, a coastal village was simply swallowed by the sea. First came the tremors, then the cracks, and, with each high tide, the ocean claimed a part of the town. Today, only the rooftops are visible during low tide. The few survivors say that on silent nights, church bells can still be heard, from churches that no longer exist. One fisherman swears he saw the bell tower fully emerge one night, as if the city were crying for help before being consumed, again by the waves. But not every ghost town was abandoned due to natural disasters or human error. Some carry legends so heavy that people's memories refuse to preserve them. One example lies hidden among fog-covered hills, where the houses remain intact but forever empty. Doors are unlocked, beds made, and even canned food still lines the shelves. Everything seems ready for a life that never returns. Locals from neighboring towns swear that at night, lights flicker and shadows move across windows. But when you get close, nothing. The elders say the city was never meant for the living, and that those who try to stay simply vanish. These places are real. They're marked on maps, mentioned in old records, visited by brave urban explorers. But even the most skeptical feel something different walking through those streets. A weight in the air, as if the place doesn't want to be disturbed. One explorer reported hearing children's music echoing through the hallways of an abandoned school. When he followed the sound, he found only a broken tape recorder with no tape, no power. And if you think all of this can be explained logically, wait until you hear the stories from those who once lived there. Accounts of apparitions, voices from nowhere, phones ringing without any active line, presences that manifest through icy touches, or a deep sadness with no source. Some say these places absorb the most intense emotions and replay them in endless cycles. One woman, for instance, said she returned to her old town to retrieve some forgotten documents. As she climbed the stairs of her childhood home, she saw her mother sitting in the usual armchair. The problem? Her mother had died the day of the evacuation, 10 years prior. She ran and vowed never to return. Months later, she received a letter postmarked from her old address. Inside was a newspaper clipping from the day of the evacuation, with a handwritten note. Come back home. Stories like these keep happening. And no matter how science tries to explain them, illusions, trauma, hallucinations, something doesn't add up. Because it's different people, different places, but always the same sensation, the same recurring shadow, the same whisper. Some scholars suggest there are specific points on the planet where reality behaves unsuitably, as if layers of time and perception overlap. Other researchers believe abandonment itself creates an emotional energy field. The more abrupt the departure, the more intense the energy that remains. As if the city becomes an echo of the lives that were suddenly silenced. Not just walls and empty streets, but vibrant records of fear, despair, longing, a kind of memory that refuses to fade. In one documented expedition by anomaly researchers, a strange sequence was recorded. Upon entering an abandoned church in a European village, they heard distinct prayers being recited. Upon investigating, they found no sound, system, or devices. But on one of the mold-covered walls, Latin inscriptions were found, passages from an 18th century funeral mass, confirmed by a consulted priest. In another case, in the United States, a filmmaker spent the night in a long-abandoned railway town. At dawn, he recorded lights turning on and off in sequence even though the site hadn't had power for over 40 years. The team first suspected vandalism or a technical glitch until they realized the lights flickered in the same order as houses where murders occurred. During a labor conflict in the 1800s, there are even more bizarre phenomena. In an abandoned city in the Asian interior, archaeologists found a row of statues in prayer. Nothing strange, except they were all facing inward toward a roofless church, each with a unique facial expression: pain, anguish, shock. Primitive tools were found at the site, but no sign of modern craftsmanship. Some believe they depict victims, others don't even dare to guess. Then there are the cities that seem to move. A group of South American geologists found a village in the Andes that, according to satellite imagery, shifts location every decade. The ruin pattern reappears at different spots along the mountain, always at similar altitudes. No roads, no natural explanation. When questioned, locals simply say, that town doesn't want to be found twice. And the mystery doesn't stop there. In more recent reports, entire towns have been seen appearing and disappearing in desert regions. Satellites captured formations resembling blocks and buildings. Days later, nothing but sand. Those who dig the soil find only scorched rocks and shadows where no one stands. Could it be that some cities exist only in moments of intense emotional energy? That they are drawn into existence by grief, fear, or longing? Some theories suggest these ghost towns are like echoes, fragments of reality, replaying over and over, stuck in a loop created by unfinished stories. Perhaps they are calling out, waiting for someone to uncover the truth that keeps them anchored in silence. Perhaps the most unsettling thing about these cities isn't what we know about them, but what we'll never know. Who lived there and never left? What was left behind, not just objects, but memories, feelings, energies. Because time moves on, but some places refuse to move with it. As if stuck between worlds. As if guarding a secret no one was meant to uncover. So the question remains, were these cities abandoned by time? Or did they drive away those who tried to stay? And more importantly, when the world finally forgets about them completely, will they truly cease to exist or simply become harder to find? If you enjoyed this journey through forgotten places filled with mystery, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share it with anyone who loves chilling stories. Leave a comment. Would you dare visit a ghost town? Or better yet, do you believe you'd make it back? See you in the next mystery.